Hello, welcome. This is our show in conversation with elevated people. Introducing digital media entrepreneur Matthew Scott. How are you doing, Matthew?
I'm very good. Enjoying post-lockdown and
That's
trying to
really
get
good.
things moving again, so it's all good.
Yeah, slowly
lovely.
returning to life, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, we wanted to ask, how did you get into digital media and what was kind of your inspiration?
Well, I think I was always a storyteller, from a
yeah.
young age, writing articles, writing stories, short stories, poems, plays, and just organically developing that up into film. And of course, I didn't have the wherewithal or kit to make films. So I think at one point in my teenage years, I got my hands on old cameras and things like that.
All right.
So then I could actually visualize, because I was a terrible artist. I couldn't
Nice.
draw the length of myself, so I was a terrible artist, but I could write.
Yeah.
So I could write a story, but I wanted to make it come alive. And I ended up making videos, music videos, and adverts and all sorts of stuff, filming everything that
Yeah.
moved. So that's how I got into digital media, because everything went online in my day, and so I ended up encoding and streaming music gigs or sports events, interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Short films as well. So I always worked alongside the film industry or music industry or entertainment industry, but always on the digital side.
How did you find sort of entering, like launching your own businesses? How did you find that kind of period of transition?
That's a brilliant question. It is extremely painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually starting a company, the three of us could start a company right now on my phone,
You say the word.
right?
I'll get
We
the
could,
phone.
we could start it right now, but it's not that. It's the rest.
Yeah.
It's the next 6 months. It's so actually starting a business is easy. Giving it wings is hard. Keeping it in the air is even harder.
Yeah.
And pulling everyone along with you and being responsible for those people on your wings or flying together, whatever analogy we take. That is the hardest part,
Yeah.
because you're responsible.
What advice would you give to anyone who is in that kind of position of like transitioning into self-employment?
I think, look, I'm biased because I've been self-employed for quite a while now,
Yeah.
over 10 years, 12 years, I think. And I would never work for anyone ever again. It just would crush you, crush me, sorry. But the advice would be to be brave, stay the course, and again, break it down to the basics of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when it's hard, go back to the starting, go back to why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Why am I sweating this out? Why am I stressing so much? Why am I dealing with these people who are giving me hassle? It's because I have a passion for something and I want to achieve something.
What are like up and coming projects that you're working on at the moment?
So at the moment, so look, I also own 50 digital media brands of my own.
Yeah.
In every sector you can imagine: music, fashion, lifestyle, mental health, fitness, wellness, nutrition, all this stuff, environment. And so I'm going to be developing those out as a massive media publishing platform, online, purely online. Elsewhere, I'm launching a new consultancy business called Play Human,
Yes.
which is basically designed to be at the very front of what's new,
Yeah.
of film, TV, media, music, etc.
And what was your inspiration behind founding that? Was there a specific?
So, having spent so many years servicing and doing projects, supplying
Yeah.
the industry and brands and stuff, I thought, well, actually, I know enough now that I'm going to say no to 9 things out of 10.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work with people who get it, who are brave enough to change an industry. And so my inspiration was to work at the top level and all the time, and turn down everything else. Because there are thousands of production companies that could do a job, thousands of marketing companies can do it, and social media companies can do a job. And I've done that, and I want to just work on pet projects, something that's going to change an industry.
Definitely. What kind of like advice would you give to someone who was thinking about potentially going into the digital media industry?
Well, I think you've got to be, you don't have to be master of everything, but you have to understand it. You have to understand not only your speciality, your passion could be animation, it could be music production, it could be editing, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to understand how the other aspects work and then how they combine to tell a story in different ways. So I think that's important. I also think that, I'm biased because my new company, Play Human, but I think the humanity aspect is lost. Understanding the end user, understanding the audience, understanding how to make an impact is really, really important. But the nuts and bolts of storytelling are really, really important. Start, middle, end. Who's it for? Are you being empathetic? Do you understand?
I think it's really interesting how you mentioned that you first got into storytelling and now that it's grown to this digital media. It's really brilliant that it keeps on coming back to that.
Yeah, well, you have to get your essence right, don't you? What you stand for, why you get up in the morning, who should give a damn, and what makes you unique. Everyone's unique, but you don't have to be a million miles from everyone else. You can just be yourself in a special way. And I think likewise, if you tell stories of people like that as well, and understand that process, then.
Yeah. Did you find you've gone through some quite low points throughout your career, or have you always managed to kind of stick with it?
That's a wonderful question. Actually, you have low points all the time, all the time. One of the things I would like to say is that when you're your own boss or you're boss of other people, it's not only you have to live with and deal with and look after, but actually it's a lonely place because all you deal with is problems. If you think about it, if you have people working for you, they're working for you to do the jobs, the tasks. So they don't need you until they can't do what they do.
Yeah,
Do you see what I mean? Until there's a problem that they can't fix because you're paying them to do it.
Yeah.
So the only thing you get to do is deal with headaches.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and if you enjoy that and you enjoy making those work or those things right, that's fantastic. To answer your question more directly, you have enormous amount of low points, and they can be very, very high pressured. They could be legal things, they could be personal things, they could be personality clashes, it could be character issues, it could be product. What you're doing isn't good enough, or isn't what someone wanted, or there's so many things can go wrong. So, and they do, and I think it's just taking it on the chin and learning and learning and learning. And people who, no matter how long you've been in the industry, you're always learning from every mistake. And some people would sit here and tell you that you have to make 90%, 95% of the time you have to make mistakes. You wouldn't seek it out, but you do have to learn from mistakes. And it's just a learning process, and it's very, very hard. And sometimes some of the issues don't get easier, but some of them do.
Yeah. What does being elevated mean to you?
So, look, being elevated, this is really important. I think that for me personally, being elevated is a very, very personal, intimate thing. It's about why you get up in the morning and why you do what you do, and just trying your best and all that sort of stuff. Always learning, but I think trying to make a difference. But people always try and change the world. But if you can change the world a tiny bit, that's achievable. Changing the world forever isn't really achievable. No one has achieved it. So actually changing something like a format, a way of telling a story, a way of getting voices heard more, that gives me my drive every morning. So being elevated to me is a very intimate thing, to answer your question. And if you can be elevated with nice people, all the better.
Happy days.
All the better.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time, Matthew.
Pleasure.
It's been brilliant having you here.
Thank you.
Lovely. And this has been In Conversation with Elevated People. Please like, comment and subscribe. And thank you all for watching, and we hope to see you next time. Bye, guys. Bye.